In Station to Station, Bowie expressed a feeling of emptiness in his Californian life, an emptiness he represented by infusing his funk rock with the electronic sound that came from Germany, specifically the motoric sound of Kraftwerk and the disco motoric sound of Giorgio Moroder. This was enhanced in his subsequent White Light tour, which opened with some Kraftwerk music and then proceeded to a performance of heavy funk rock and a blinding light show that made the cool, thin white Duke seem almost robotic. It all indicated dehumanization, but the album also offered a way out, pointing to Europe as a place that could offer an aesthetic revival, driven by the arty electronic sound. The White Light tour took Bowie to Europe, and he started to look for a home there. At first, he made his base in Switzerland, but then he started to get drawn towards Eastern Europe, where the excesses of American capitalism were not so prevalent. In April 1976 he travelled with Iggy Pop to Moscow, and on the way spent a few hours in Warsaw. Walking through the city, Bowie could still see the ruins of World War II, compounded by the depression of living under Soviet oppression, and he felt the grim sadness of its situation. Bowie and Iggy brought some of this desolation into The Idiot, the Iggy Pop album they created together, in which the equation between soul and electronics weighs heavily towards the electronic side, making Iggy sound like a cyborg. In Low, Bowie goes in a different direction. Side A of Low pretty much picks up where Station to Station left off, a combination of funk rock and electronics. But Tony Visconti's groundbreaking production makes it sound much less soulful, and more like a soul tortured by its existence in an alienated urban world. There are, however, moments of bliss, when Bowie disengages from the world and draws back into his soul, finding that his inner world has a life of its own. This was to be the new direction, going inward, trying to find solace inside. All that was needed was music to express this rich inner life, and as always, Bowie found the music to provide him with the language to say what he couldn't iterate before. This time, it was Brian Eno's ambient music. And so, the track that opens Side B introduces us to a whole new musical world, which will dominate the entire side. It is a slow ambient instrumental, representing that other world that was merely hinted at in Side A. Gone is a funky rhythm section. The numbers of this side were created by Eno, Bowie and Visconti alone. But it doesn't sound like Eno's ambient music. It is something else, something new. While ambient is devoid of soul, and works as background music to affect the back of your mind, here it is fused with a beautiful melody that definitely has soul. Warszawa, a musical depiction of what Bowie experienced on that afternoon he roamed the Polish capital, showcases this new fusion, and brings it to perfection. The opening sounds throw us into an atmosphere very similar to the nightmarish urban world of mass production, the closing track of The Idiot. That track manifests the desolation of a humanity completely erased by industrialization, to the point where every human becomes just a product in an assembly line, moving to ominous, repetitive music. Warszawa opens in very much the same way, but then we begin to hear other things. Atmospheric ambient music starts to play over the droning industrial emissions, and the haunting melody creeps up slowly as though it is some spirit roaming through the city. It still doesn't sound like anything human, but it is not robotic either. There's a measure of sadness to it, a dose of depression, but also a sense of catharsis. All in all, it is sublime. This music meanders for more than 6 minutes, taking us through the cavernous underbelly of the big city, letting its gloom sink into our soul. It is not completely an instrumental, though. 4 minutes in, Bowie's vocal appears, in the form of a choir of many voices. But it is not singing over the music, it blends right in with it, as if coming out of the concrete that surrounds us, low and humming. It sounds like Gregorian monks chanting, praying, and we feel that Bowie has discovered a new spirituality in the heart of the urban wasteland. Actually, it was found there. The melody he sings is based on a song called Helokeni, performed by the Polish folk group Silask, whose album he bought while in Warsaw. Helokeni has high children voices singing against a low-voiced choir, and Bowie uses the same effect here, his lonely siren vocal answering the chanting monks. His prayer, however, has no words. Although it sounds like words, and some of the phonetics sound very much like Helokeni, it is actually a made-up language, as if Bowie hasn't found the words yet to express this new spirituality. And yet, we feel like we understand it. We feel that Bowie is talking in some primitive universal language which we all share beneath our different dialects. It sounds like Bowie is attempting to talk in a primitive language to express a new humanity being born, like a child making his first steps in the world. To achieve this childlike quality, several techniques were used. First, as Eno's strategies of randomness, aimed to take the musicians out of their habits and force them to work on unfamiliar musical grounds. Furthermore, Eno built the main melody around 3 notes played by Visconti's 4-year-old son, who just played the ABC keys in sequence, not a sequence that a trained musician would often choose. Finally, Bowie's main vocal is speeded up to make it sound high and childlike. This innocent and pure voice pierces through the gloom, and Warsaw's Song of Sadness becomes a ray of new light.